If you're an IFA, a wealth manager, or an accountant, there is a ghost in the room every time you think about filming a video. It's not the camera, it's not the lighting, it's not even your fear of being on screen. It's your compliance officer. And that ghost has convinced most financial professionals that video is just too risky, so they won't do it at all, which is the biggest risk to your business growth. Because here's what's happening whilst you are staying silent. Your competitors, the ones who figured out how to do video safely, they're the ones who are building authority. They're showing up on LinkedIn. They're getting found on YouTube. They're positioning themselves as the obvious choice. And by the time a prospect gets to you, they've already decided who the expert is, and it's not you because you weren't there. So in this video, I'm going to show you the 3-layer framework for staying compliant, whether you're regulated by the FCA, the SEC, FINRA, or any Canadian regulator, while still building authority. Why advice is banned, but philosophy is totally fine, and how to know the difference between the two. And the 60-second audit that will tell you if your current content ideas are going to get you in trouble. I've spent 28 years working in UK broadcast TV, an industry that is heavily regulated. And in the UK, we're governed by Ofcom. And I've worked on shows where every single word that goes to air is reviewed by lawyers before it's broadcast. So I know what it's like to create content in an environment where one wrong phrase can land you in serious trouble. And here's what I've learned. Being regulated doesn't mean that you can't make entertaining or informative content. It just means you need to put compliance at the heart of your workflow. And by the way, if you're sat there thinking, okay, but I still have no idea what I'm allowed to say on camera, I've built a free video scorecard specifically for financial professionals. It's a 15-minute diagnostic where we'll map out the exact types of videos you should be making to stay safe while still building authority. Whether you're in the UK, the US, or Canada, this framework works. So the link to that is in the description, so grab it once you've watched this video. Let's get to it. Right, let's talk about the problem. Most financial professionals think compliance means don't say anything interesting, don't make any claims, don't show any results, just exist quietly and hope people find you. And I get it, because the rules are genuinely confusing. If you're in the UK, you're dealing with the FCA. If you're in the US, it's the SEC, FINRA, or your state regulator. And if you're in Canada, you've got provincial securities commissions. And the consequences of getting it wrong are serious. So the default position becomes, let's not do video at all. It's safer. But here's the thing, staying silent is not safe. It's just slow death by irrelevance. Because whilst you're worried about compliance, your prospects are on YouTube searching for answers to their questions. And if you're not there answering those questions, someone else is. And that someone else is building trust. They're building authority. They're building a client base. And you're waiting for the phone to ring. So the question isn't, should I do video? The question is, how do I do video in a way that keeps me compliant and positions me as the expert? And that's what the 3-layer framework does. So let me give you a little bit of context from my world. I've spent 28 years working in broadcast TV, and in the UK, like I said before, we're regulated by Ofcom. Now, Ofcom does not mess about. If you breach their guidelines, you can get fined. Your show can get pulled off the air. Your career can take a serious hit. So when you're making, for example, panel shows, things like Never Mind the Buzzcocks, Have I Got News for You, Mock the Week, you don't just turn up and say whatever you want. There are lawyers in the studio poring over scripts as they're being written and developed. Every joke, every reference, every potentially libelous statement, they're all reviewed. And on live shows, it's even tighter. You've got a lawyer in the gallery, in the control room, watching the show go out in real time. And if a guest says something problematic, or if a host strays into dangerous territory, that lawyer will flag it immediately. The host then has to steer the conversation away or make a disclaimer or issue an apology right there, live on air. Because if they don't, the show's in breach and Ofcom will come down like a ton of bricks. Now, you might be thinking, that all sounds an absolute horror show. How do you make anything entertaining when you're that restricted? And here's the thing, we did. We made some of the most successful, some of the most watched, most beloved comedy shows in British TV history, because being regulated doesn't mean you can't create great content. It just means compliance needs to be part of your workflow, not an afterthought, not a barrier, an actual workflow. And that's exactly how you need to think about video as a financial professional. You don't avoid video because of compliance. You build compliance into the process. And the 3-layer framework is how you build authority without giving advice. Layer 1 is education, the law. This is where you explain the rules, the regulations, the facts. An example might be, in the UK, the pension annual allowance for 2026 is £60,000. If you exceed that, you'll face a tax charge. Or in the US, the 401k contribution limit for 2026 is $23,000. That's not advice, that's education. You're stating a fact. Anyone can verify that. Your regulator can't touch you. Then layer 2 is philosophy, your approach. This is where you explain how you think about the problem, your framework, your methodology, your perspective. For example, I value diversification because I've seen too many portfolios destroyed by concentration risk. That's why I always look at asset allocation first. Or I tend to prioritize tax efficiency over absolute returns for high net worth clients. That's not advice, that's philosophy. You're not telling someone what to do, you're explaining how you approach the problem. And this is where you start to build authority, because philosophy is what separates you from every other advisor in your market. And then layer 3 is evidence, the outcome. This is where you show a case study, but, and this is critical, you don't say, you should do this. You say, here's what we did for a client in a similar situation. Here were the constraints, here's the outcome. And this is what it could look like. We worked with a surgeon who was going through a divorce. The challenge was protecting pension assets while maintaining liquidity. We used a combination of strategies. The outcome, they kept 80% of their pension intact and avoided a tax charge. Of course, individual circumstances vary and past performance doesn't guarantee future results. So there you are, you're not giving advice, you're showing evidence of your expertise, and none of those 3 layers, education, philosophy, or evidence, constitute personal advice. That is the framework. So then here's what you do. Go and look at the last 3 content ideas you've had, LinkedIn posts, video ideas, whatever, and ask yourself, is this advice or is it authority? And if it's advice, it might sound like you should max out your ISA before contributing to a pension. Buy index funds instead of actively managed funds. You need to transfer your 401k to an IRA. That is advice, don't say it. If it's authority, it sounds like here's how ISA allowances work in 2026, education. Why I prefer index funds for long-term growth, philosophy. How we help a client decide whether to consolidate their pensions, evidence. You see the difference? One tells people what to do, one shows them how you think. Your regulator, whether it's the FCA, the SEC, FINRA, or a provincial commission, loves the second one because it's transparent, it's educational, and it positions you as the expert without crossing the line. So audit your ideas. If they feel like advice, pivot it to philosophy. And if you're thinking, well, okay, well, this makes sense, but I still want someone to just tell me what videos I'm allowed to make. Well, that's what the video scorecard is for. We'll jump on a call and I'll map out the exact video types for your niche. Education videos, philosophy videos, case study videos, all compliant, all designed to build authority. It's free and the link is in the description. It takes minutes to do, and then if I can help you, we can jump on a call. You might be watching this right now thinking, okay, I get the framework, I know now how to stay compliant, but I still need to actually make the videos. And I don't have time to film new content every week. And the good news is you don't need to, because one of the most powerful things I've learned working with companies over the years is you already have the assets. You just may not realize it. I've done a project across multiple international markets, a really tight deadline, a modest budget. Most agencies would have said, right, we need a film crew, we need locations, we need a 6-week shoot. But you know what? I didn't film a single new frame. Instead, what we did was we did an asset audit. We went through their archives, their old project files, their stock footage, their B-roll library. And out of that, we created 4 market-ready films from stuff they already had sitting on their hard drives. And that's the strategy I'm going to show you in the next video, because if you've been in business for more than 5 years, you will have assets, you'll have photographs, you'll have documents, you'll have client stories. You've got something, and the asset audit shows you how to turn all of that into authority building video without necessarily booking weeks of new shoots. Watch that next, Because if you're thinking, I don't have time to create all this new content, then this video coming up in a second is going to change your mind. I hope this is useful. If it was, please do hit subscribe, because I'm building a series here that's going to take you from I'm terrified of compliance to I've got a video library that brings me in qualified leads every single month. And if you're a financial professional, IFA, wealth manager, accountant, make sure you grab the scorecard. It's free, it's fast, and it'll give you clarity on what you're actually allowed to say on camera. The link, like I said, is in the description below. See you in the next video. Take care.